All right, welcome. Today I'm just gonna get this little set up better. Today we are going to install the internet server on a Windows computer. So what I need to do here first, I need to actually go into my tools and open my Hyper-V manager, because I need to have all my stuff started up and working before we get this moving here. So I don't actually need that anymore, but I do need to, I'm going to go ahead and connect and start my pfSense. Let's give it a second here. I'm going to scoot that one out of the way. And then I'm going to go to my Windows server. I'm going to connect to that one. And I think I told you when we did network setup that the pfSense is going to take a minute anyway. The Windows server is actually really quite quick. And so for this part, we can wait a second. I'm going to wait. If you were kind of paying attention in the network setup part, there's a part where the DNS server starts. So we're going to just watch this go for a second. There's the WAN interface. We're getting close. Firewall, static routes. There's DNS. All right, so I'm going to start now. And this will probably start faster than the thing would be. Right here on this is a Windows server this is kind of like an error message that basically happened on this side. What happened here probably is that I didn't shut down properly. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And I'm going to just double check over here. There was no saved state as far as I know, which is okay, but again, this is actually kind of a normal thing too. So don't sweat that if that comes up on you, that's going to be any problem. All right, so we're back to the Control-Alt-Delete screen. I'm going to be hitting this little shortcut here. Now we hopefully either used the same password we use for every other thing on here, or you definitely remember your password. If you don't, you're going to have to basically start the Windows server process over. All right, here we are logged into our Windows server. So let's just remind ourselves the Windows server is behind the firewall. The firewall here is this pfSense. On one side of the firewall, it's this 10.1.0 IP range, and on my side, the Windows server side, it's 192.168.1. So everything we're going to do here is going through the pfSense. So let's fire up what are we doing here? We're installing the web server. So I think we're just pretty much ready to go. That looks good. What we're going to do is add roles and features. Okay. So the internet server is a role. I'm going to click add roles and features here. This will start a wizard. For now, we don't have to say skip. If you had been doing this a lot, you would do. You'd probably do skip. Honestly, though, if you were really doing server administration a lot, you're going to be using PowerShell, and this doesn't even apply to you. But we're doing it the GUI way. So I'm going to hit next. All right, I do want role-based features. This is very fine. I make sure this server is the server I'm on. This is also really normal. In a bigger environment, you have multiple things. All right, we are adding the web server role. So it's a server role, and it's right here. It's this web server parentheses IIS. Okay. I want you to remember from here and from ever that IIS is where we deal with the web server, and IIS stands for Internet Information Server. Okay, we need to know this basically shorthand, this acronym. IIS stands for Internet Information Server, and this is what we need. When I clicked that checkbox, it asked me if I want to add some features. I'm going to go ahead and add those. I'm going to hit next. Now in here, I can actually leave these features alone. I'm going to scooch forward here for next. I'm going to configure the web server role, and here is where I need to do something, especially if you're in my class. what we're going to do is go and find application development. That's right here. I'm going to expand this with my little triangle here. It's going to zoom down, and the one I need here is ASP.NET 4.6. It's going to add some other stuff, which is very nice of them to sort of add all the stuff we need, and we hit add features here, and then we are ready to go. So this is really actually quite a straightforward process. I'm going to hit next, and I'm going to hit install. All right, this actually shouldn't take very long. One of the things I need to do while this is going is I'm going to pop into my web browser, and I'm actually going to go, again, this is something my students will be doing. I'm going to go into this stuff. I don't want to do this as default browser. It doesn't really matter. We need to do this too. I'm going to close that out. I'm going to go in here, and we're going to go to as you learn. .appstate.edu. I'm going to go there, and it's going to make me log in. And I just now realized I don't have my computer, my phone with me to sign in, so I'm going to never save that. All right, so I'm entering in my Duo login. Because what I need to do is actually, I'm going to test this. We'll test it in just a minute. I'm going to go into this class, which is where the stuff is. We are on web server. Okay. And those of you that are watching from the internet could see that the students have got to do a bunch of stuff. All right. That is proceeding quite well. So I can switch back to here. What I need to do, one of the things we have to do is we need a script, okay? And the ASP is right here, and we actually are going to grab the script. It's just right here. But that we don't actually need until this is done. Installation succeeded. All right, so note here, installation succeeded, and we're done, and I can hit close. Now, here's an important thing you need to know. On a Windows Internet Information Services, meaning IIS, the root directory is under C:, so I'm going to go to C. I'm just going to expand this out though. If I hit C here, it's inetpub. Okay, so inetpub is where we're going in, and in here there's a directory called www.root. Let me just pop that open here. And in here, this is where basically web files go. I'm going to put one in right now. So I'm going to hit a right click here, and I'm going to say new text document. I'm going to call it DEFAULT, and I'm just going to hit enter for now. While I'm also in here, and because you're now an advanced student, you can be okay with seeing extra stuff. So I hit the view button in File Explorer, and I'm going to check this box. I want to see file name extensions, not just file name extensions. I actually want to see hidden items. So I'm going to check that box too. Hidden items doesn't come up for now, but this is great. All right, default.txt is actually what we don't want. I'm going to take off the txt. Note, be sure you're already seeing extensions when you do this. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a file that's called default.htm.txt, and it won't work. So if you get stuck on there, and I'll swing you back to here if you get stuck on there. If you change a file extension, the file might become unusable. Are you sure? Yes, I am definitely sure. I did want that to be default.htm. Now, I'm going to put some stuff in here. This doesn't have to be fancy. I'm going to open this with Notepad. So here's Notepad, and default.htm is a blank document, and this is the document that will open up. Oops, I better spell my own name right. I'm going to put here just a note to know where I am. So this is Russell's Windows server. I'm going to hit File, Save. I'm going to close this. You should do the same, by the way, just to keep track of what's going on. I can close this too, because we're going to remember this is in c:/inetpub www root. We're going to go up here, and just for kicks, we're going to type in here. Let's type in, there's 50 different ways we can do this. We can type in localhost. Localhost means I'm accessing the current document, and notice here this is Russell's Windows server. Now here's also what I'm going to do. Now that I know this very clever thing, I'm actually going to flip over to my Azure machine. So now I'm in the Azure File Explorer. I'm also going to go to my c:/inetpub www root. I'm also going to say view file name extensions and view hidden items. I'm also going to right click in here and say new text document. This one I'm going to call again default. And while I'm here, since I'm already showing extensions, I can actually just rename it right there. And it's ready to go, default.htm. I'm going to right click here, and I'm going to open with Notepad. Nice and complicated. By the way, this Notepad is actually a little better than the other one. Let's find that little thing. So I'm going to say this is Russell's, Azure machine. Okay, we'll just call it that. This is Russell's Azure machine. So I'm going to save that one. I'm going to close this. I'm going to close this. And now watch how cool this is. If I go into, I'm going to scooch this out of the way a little bit. If I go into Edge here, because Explorer is really, really bad, I can now actually see both of these computers. So if I type in localhost, oops, my goodness, localhost. So funny. I need it to be, let's just put a slash and make sure we get here. All right, localhost. Localhost, by the way, is just the way you say I want to connect to my own computer or this computer here. Localhost is Russell's Azure machine. If I go in here, and hopefully I did this from my last thing, 192.168.1.2, that better be my Windows Server IP address. And if I hit enter there, I get this is Russell's Windows Server. All right, very cool. This means we're ready to go, okay? I can access my Windows server from my Azure machine. I can access my Azure machine. Obviously, I could probably go back, but we're not going to worry about that one for now. I'm going to just minimize this so we have it out of the way. So here we are, Russell's Windows server. Now, next thing up, if you are one of my students, you need to open this. We need to get this testform.aspx file. In order to get this, you have to do it this way, so make sure you do it this way. I'm going to right click here, and I'm going to say save link as. This is just to save like the file as it is, like ready to go. I need to go into c:/inetpub www root. And note here, I clicked on c:, I double clicked inetpub, I double clicked www root. Here we are in that directory, and notice here none of them are .aspx, but this is just a certain kind of thing. I'm going to hit save, and now this testform.aspx file is there. Now testform is a specific file. Let me just double back into my Windows Explorer, or File Explorer, sorry, I'm going into inetpub, www root. Default.htm is the default when you just type localhost with a slash. Like that's the default file that gets shown. This test form is not a default file. In order to get this open, I have to type in /testform.aspx. And then I hit enter, and that's targeting this specific file. Now, since I installed the ASP extensions, this works. If you didn't, you would actually see a bunch of embedded code in here. And I'm just for grins going to show you, I'm going back to File Explorer. I'm going to right click on this and say open with. And I'm going to open this with Notepad, and it's okay to leave this box checked because I want to just look at it. Here is some code here. Here is also some code. And where else is some code? You got any other code in here? No. All right, and that's fine. What would happen if you didn't have the ASP.NET installed correctly is you'd see a bunch of code here. All right, so I'm going to leave that there. What we need to do next is, this is very exciting, we're going to use Wireshark to look at some stuff. Okay, we already have Wireshark down here on the Azure machine, but I am just going to install it up here too. I'm going to go to the Wireshark download, and I'm going to download and install Wireshark. We love Wireshark here. I need Windows x64 again, so I'm going to download that one. It won't take long, thank goodness. The Microsoft Azure network has some pretty good internet connection. It's completed, I can open it. And we've already been through the installation here, so I'm not going to get too much into this. I'm going to just run the installation. It should just take a second. Oops, I don't want to have anything weird come up. Come on, baby. All right, we're doing the Wireshark setup. This is noted. Next. We're very excited by all this stuff. I'm just hitting next, 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 next. And then I hit install. Don't forget it's going to install Wireshark for a little while. Then it's going to blink over and install an Nmap extension that's, is it Nmap? Anyway, a PCAP file, like a capturing thing. So we'll give this a minute. To do some very exciting stuff here. Just gonna wait for a minute. Okay, here's our NPCAP, that's what it's called, not Nmap. All right, we're just gonna install. This installs for just a second. And just watch this, by the way. Once in a while, I'll have students that it blinks in and sort of gets stuck, that this one is not in the foreground anymore. We're just waiting here for a second for Nmap to install. Again, if your Wireshark sort of gets stuck, it'll sometimes be because the NPCAP didn't finish, or you didn't finish it. And so you can just blink back into NCAP. So notice here, look, if I'm in Wireshark, go back here, and it's, you can't really tell that it's there. I'm just trying to help you out. Okay, so I hit next here, I'm completed, I need to hit finish, and then Wireshark installation is going to finish. Let the kitty in. All right, that's completed. So we hit next here. And now we're done with Wireshark. Now, this is sort of the same deal. I'm actually just going to close this tab. We're going to use this one here. I'm actually done over here too. So I'm actually going to close that one too. I just need to do this test form for a second. What I want to do is we'll just double check. Maybe Wireshark is already here. There's Wireshark. I'm going to pop open Wireshark. Hopefully you remember how to start a capture, because I want to start a capture. And I'm just going to show you, and you are, if you're one of my students, you're going to show me and explain what this means. So I'm going to do a capture here. We're going to double click on Ethernet. And we're going to start a capture. So I'm capturing from Ethernet here, and just this is totally typical of every other time. That's lots of stuff going on. Now I'm going to type in here my username. So I'll just pretend this is my username. And then I'll put a password in. So I hit log in there, and I just want to say never save here. Okay, now it says your username Haynes RP, so it did process this, and it says your password is not shown for security reasons. Now, we'll flip back to Wireshark. I'm going to stop my capture, and then we're going to look at just sort of what happened. Now, you might remember if you've already done some stuff, that I can look at let's just look at HTTP. I can look at only HTTP traffic, and It's not showing anything. What's the matter with this thing? Let's try this again. Let's go to, continue without saving. Let's see what's going on here. This is in 8. Oh, that's the problem. I didn't want to do this on here. Sorry. The reason why it didn't capture that is Wireshark will not capture from its own on its own computer. What I need to do is go over here to this Windows or my Azure machine. So we'll go back to Azure. Remember, we were on Russell's Windows server. Here, I'm now going to go to testform.aspx. You can see now that even the thousands of times I've done this, it doesn't, like, I don't know, I make mistakes too. Notice here, there's some HTTP traffic that just blew by. I can type in my password here again, and I am typing a password that I don't want people to see because I don't want them to see it. So there's my Haynes RP, your password not shown for security reasons. Notice here, we're in HTTP. If I type in HTTP here, I can see actually all of the information. If you've been watching, I really don't watch or need that thing open. I'm just going to expand this though. And here's where we first get the test form. And here where it says post, if you were watching when we did the Wireshark capture in the previous or one of the other videos you might have seen me do, there you can see it would have been a get, and it would have had like a question mark and then the data here. This is in a post. In a post, it puts the data inside, and it's right here. So there's the username, and there's the password. If you want it to be really sexy, you can right-click here and do a follow. Remember, I've already told you too that HTTP or TCP doesn't really matter. It shows you more or less the same thing in this mode anyway. But notice here, this is the whole thing. So we got the test form, and then here we are. Here's the initial part when it came up where the username was blank. If I keep scrolling down, here's where I typed in my username and password. And then here's where now it says your username is Haynes RP. And so if you're going to be like, if you need to show off to someone, for example, like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be using a clear text, maybe you should use transport layer security, then this would be where you might use this screenshot. Or again, this one was pretty cool, I thought too, where I just found, where's my post? When I found the post, and there's the username and password, just however you want to show off. So we like showing off. Now, next step is, since we don't like stuff going in clear text, I'm going to stop this capture because I don't need this anymore. I'm going to minimize my Wireshark for just a second. I'll just leave it running there. And what I need to do now is actually I'm going to install a self-signed certificate. Now, there are instructions for this, and if you're one of my students, I am going to make you look this up. I'm going to go self-signed certificate, and we'll just call it installation, and we'll call it IIS. And we might even put like Windows Server. Because I'm looking for a very particular one here. And of course, there's a lovely AI way to do it, and it may be right. I'm looking for actually a very particular one, and it's right here. This is the one you want, to learn Microsoft, how to set up SSL and IIS 7 or later. I'm just going to hit this button, and we're just going to follow this process. This is the one I like. I'm going to scroll down here. What I do want to note here is if I scroll down, you'll notice here there's a whole bunch of this is, I don't know if they're in PowerShell or the command prompt, but this is command line interface stuff, okay? We don't want any of this. We're going to do it in the GUI because the GUI is the GUI. We're doing IIS Manager. I already told you, and here's a reminder, what does IIS stand for? And this is when you chorus in and say, it stands for Internet Information Services. If we go into our server manager now, I need to open the tools. And here it is, Internet Information Services Manager. So get used to this and make sure you remember Internet Information Services is IIS. And I definitely want this manager. And in the manager, I'm just going to go back to our instructions because we are literally going to follow these instructions. It says here, select the server node in the tree view and double click the server certificates feature in the list view. What I need to do is look at this left side where it says start page. There's my server, and then I just need to be clicking on the server. So I'm going to go back here, and here's my server. And like I said, I just need to be clicking on my server. I'm going to switch back here, make us do some fancy stuff. I'm looking for this one that says server certificates. So I'm going to click back in here, and I'm going to scroll down over here, and I'm looking for the one that says server certificates. Stop me when you see it. There it is. Oh, there it is. Stop right there. All right, I need server certificates, and I can actually just double click this. I could have also said open feature, and that's fine. I'm going to scroll down here, and here's where it says, look, create self-signed certificate in the actions pane. That's over here on the right side. I'm going to click over here. I'm going to click back into Internet Information Services, and I need this self-signed certificate. And see how it says specify a friendly name for the certificate. I am going to call this, let's just make up a nice friendly name. This is going to be called web server. All right. Don't put it in your personal certificate store. We need it in our web hosting store. Let me just double check if that's in here. Oh, how funny. All right. Well, it's a good thing I just told you, because it definitely has to be in the web services store. All right, I'm just going to scroll down here. We're going to be back on that business in a minute. So I'm web serving, and I hit OK. All right, now I have a web server self-signed certificate. It's issued to my server. It's issued by my server. That's why it's self-signed. And there's the lovely hash, and it's in the web hosting store. And that's great. All right, next up, I need to bind it. So bindings is here. Select the tree in the tree, select the site in the tree view, and click bindings in the actions page. Here we go. So anyhow, in some ways, this is a great thing. I'm going to expand this a little bit, not because I really need to, but it just makes it bigger. All right, I'm going to sites. And I'm going to, let me just expand this, and I'm going to hit default website. And default website, over here where it says edit site, you do see this bindings. And this is what I need to hit. I need to hit bindings. I'm going to flip back to our instructions just to make sure we're doing this right. Okay, so here's the bindings. Notice here the dialog box basically looks the same, but this is a super old version of Internet Server. So where are we at? Click add to add the new bindings there. So we're going to go here, come up here, and I'm going to say add. Then I need a binding, and I can tell you right now it's going to be HTTPS. For now, I'm going to leave this as all unassigned. I'm going to leave the host name unassigned too. By the way, if you hit require server name indication, that means like this is kind of a professional server, and we're not going to do that. So we are just doing self-signed, and it's kind of a junky server, and that's fine. SSL certificate, I need to click here and click my web server one. There it is right there. Once I hit OK, I'm actually ready to go. I'm going to flip back over here, HTTPS, leave it all unassigned, pick the certificate you do, and now we have our new binding. Okay. Now, I don't need to browse it from here. I'm actually going to browse it from this other place. There's my binding. I'm going to hit close here, and I'm going to test it over here. All right, what I want to do first is I'm going to test it on the default web page. So I type https://192.168.1.2 and hit enter. Now, first thing that comes up here is your connection isn't private. Attackers might be trying to steal your stuff. Cert authority invalid. If I hit advanced here, it should say, but this is what happens when you use a self-signed certificate. Okay. Now, the funny thing about this was, I don't know if you remember, we just entered something that said, here's my password. And that was definitely attackers can steal this, but they aren't really saying this. Oops, I don't need to hide it. Leave that alone. All right. Oops. Yes, I do need that. All right. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. You may have also noticed this if you're on another exercise, that this is actually the similar thing to what happened when we logged into our pfSense in the first place. Okay. I'm going to hit continue. And by the way, this is where you would show people, if you're trying to show like what happens when you have a self-signed certificate, you might be showing like what's happening on this screen as a way to show what's, you know, the stuff here. Once you hit continue, by the way, it's going to add this certificate to your trusted sites, and it won't ever ask again, okay? And there's a way in Edge, I'm sure, to reset or delete trusted certificates, but I'm not going to get into that. If you need to do that, you need to find out yourself. But this would be a place, again, if you're especially one of my students, you probably need to screenshot this just to make sure we know, what's going on, what the user sees when we have a self-signed certificate. So I hit continue. It says, oops, can't even be reached, which is interesting. This is another issue. This happens in Edge, and it's because we're actually using an older version of, anyway, it's on an older version of HTTP or TLS, and so Edge doesn't like it, which is actually fine. If we were using Firefox, it would work. What I'm going to do now is switch over to Internet Explorer, and I know I already probably told you Internet Explorer really stinks, and it's really a pain. But we're going to go ahead and do all of our stuff for this for now in Internet Explorer. Okay, so I'm going to type HTTPS : / / 192.168.1.2. I'm going to hit enter here. About to secure pages. That's very exciting. The site is not secure. I have to hit more information, and I still do go to the thing. Again, this might be the one you could screenshot. I'm going to go onto the web page and hit OK. And this one does work. So notice here we got certificate error. Very exciting. Here's the certificate report. It's pretty funny that it doesn't, it doesn't tell you it's self-signed, but this is why. All right, this is Russell's Windows Server. What I'm going to do before I actually do my test form is I'm going to wing back over here. Remember here I'm in Azure. Oops. Let's double check. I'm on my Azure machine. Let me just drop out of this Edge for now. I'm on the Azure machine, and I'm going to start my packet capture because I want to see what happens when I do this. I'm going to continue without saving. I'm going to see what happens when I do this. I'll close that out too. Via HTTPS, meaning I use transport layer security. So let's go back in here. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to type test form.aspx. Hit enter. I do need to add this, just like we've been doing. Add it, and I hit close. Now it's okay, and it's adding my username. I can type in this, oops, if I can spell my name right, Haynes RP. And I can type in that fake password because it's very exciting. By the way, look at that. There it is. Oop. I hit login. Would you like to store the password? And I'm just going to say not for the site. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing you got to know. So if I'm going to show off how cool I am, I can stop this capture right now. But what I need to know is where was that traffic? Because what you'll notice here is I'm on a secure website, and I'm going from, where was I going from? There's a lot of places this could be. I should be going, it's probably, it is 10.1.0.1. So I'm going from 10.1.0.1 to 192.168.1.2. So I don't know if you remember, if you were back in here, remember this is 10.1.0.2. The actual Azure machine has one IP address that's 10.1.0.1. So that's this traffic. And I do need to know that it's that traffic because, I don't know, I got to be kind of cool here. You might also remember there was a host setup. Where was that? Application data. Oh, I think I already set up the host. Oh, so we can't see it, but that's fine. All right, so I guess the point being here is at this point, I need to be sure of what I'm looking at. So if your professor happened to be seeing that you, for example, were highlighting this 192.168.1.2 and it's to 104.208, like that's not the traffic. That's for sure not it. The traffic I'm looking for is actually right in here. Somewhere in here in this section is where I logged in and did my password. So if I right click here and hit follow, and notice here it's either TCP stream, TLS stream, and either one doesn't really matter at this point either, but you'll notice here this is just all, it looks basically scrambled, and that's the point. This is encrypted data, and so you can't see my password. So I think that was kind of cool. So I think based on that, I'm going to stop right here, and we are going to, I'm going to leave the rest. If you're one of my students, you still have a thing where you need to create a quarantine. You're going to have to look at another video of how to set up the quarantine in your web server such that you can basically see what happens when you download something via HTTP or HTTPS, like what happens in Wireshark. And hopefully you're going to have good luck with that, because we are done with this video. Thank you.